That night, Michael wasn't looking for trouble. All he needed was a pen. A simple thing. A routine search through a desk drawer he'd opened 1,000 times before. But instead of a pen, his fingers brushed against something else. A folded sheet of A4 paper. Stiff and ominous. Curious, he unfolded it. There, in stark black ink, were the words that slammed into his chest. Petition for divorce. Not signed, but complete. His name, her name, wedding date. It was all there. And just then, from the kitchen, her voice floated in, casual and familiar. "Do you want soup or salad?" Michael stared at the paper. His wife was still home, still cooking dinner, still asking what he wanted to eat. But in that moment, he realized something bone deep. She hadn't left, but she was gone. Have you ever felt that? The woman you love is still right there, breathing the same air, sharing the same bed, smiling maybe. But something's changed. She doesn't look at you the same, doesn't laugh the same. Her body is near, but her spirit feels miles away. She answers when you speak, but she no longer listens. She cooks the meals, but doesn't care if you enjoy them. She sleeps beside you, but hasn't reached for you in years. And you've grown so used to the silence, you forgot there was ever music. Michael, now 59, had spent 32 years with Laura. They were never loud, never dramatic. No cheating, no betrayal, no debt. From the outside, it looked stable, but inside it was hollow. Once, Michael confided, "I can't remember the last time she laid her head on my shoulder, or the last time she smiled when I walked in the door. She still moves around the house, still folds my laundry, but it's like being haunted. She's there, but she isn't." I asked him, "Did you ever ask her how she feels?" He looked down, then said, "I thought if I just kept doing the right things, working hard, staying faithful, providing, the marriage would work itself out. I didn't realize silence could be so loud." And maybe you're like Michael. Maybe you think that not doing anything wrong means everything is fine. But not doing wrong is not the same as loving right. You can stay, you can be there, but if your presence doesn't come with love, attention, and effort, it slowly begins to feel like absence. Laura didn't storm out. She faded. She tried to be seen again. One year, she bought a navy blue dress, the same color Michael once said made her eyes glow on their first date. She wore it on his birthday, smiling shyly. He looked up. "Aren't you cold in that?" That was all he said. She folded the dress away and never wore it again. Another time, she spent the whole afternoon cooking his favorite, beef stroganoff from his mother's old recipe. He ate in silence, barely looking up from his phone. She washed the dishes alone, told herself, maybe this doesn't matter anymore. But it did. She mattered. She just needed to be reminded. And when a woman stops trying, it's not because she's done loving. It's because she's done begging to be loved. Michael didn't lose Laura all at once. He lost her slowly, in every unanswered smile, every forgotten compliment, every evening when he said nothing while she sat across from him, hoping. He didn't notice when she started sleeping further from him. Didn't ask why she sat longer in the car before coming inside. Didn't hear the silence between them growing heavier day by day, until that divorce petition appeared like a mirror, and he saw what he hadn't dared admit. She was gone, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, intimately. And here's the hardest part. He had no idea he was losing her. He thought everything was okay. So I ask you now, when was the last time she reached for you? When was the last time you looked at her, really looked at her? Is she still in love with you, or just used to you? Because many women don't leave with suitcases. They leave in silence. They stop laughing at your jokes. They nod instead of speak. They walk past you without touching. And piece by piece, they disappear. So if she's still there, still cooking, still checking if you've eaten, still folding your shirts, that means you still have a chance. Because even if her heart is halfway out the door, her body is still beside you. And if you love her, if you really truly love her, then stay with me. Because next I'll show you the real reason women stop touching the man they once couldn't wait to hold. It's not about age. It's not about looks. It's not even about desire. It's about how safe she feels in your arms, and whether those arms still feel like home. Don't wait until she leaves. See her, reach for her, while she's still there. Stay tuned for part 2, and if this touched you, leave a comment below. I read every single one. There was a time Michael kissed Laura every morning. Not a grand kiss, just a gentle press on her forehead before he grabbed his coffee and headed out. It was a small ritual, but it was theirs, a quiet thread of love that started the day. Then life got louder. Deadlines replaced mornings, emails replaced conversation. He told himself he was too tired, too late, too busy. That forehead kiss disappeared. First once, then again. Eventually, it became a memory, and Laura noticed. Most women don't speak up when affection fades. They wait. They hope it's just a phase. But when weeks turn into years and those soft touches don't return, their hearts begin to ache, quietly, silently. Middle-aged women aren't asking for fairy tales. They aren't searching for knights on white horses. They want to be acknowledged. They want to feel like they still matter to the man who once held their gaze with wonder. You might think she's just become distant, colder with age. But what if the chill you feel from her is a reflection of the warmth you stopped giving? Laura wasn't yearning for big gestures. She wanted the little things back, the glance across the room, the gentle squeeze of her hand while waiting in line, the way he used to reach for her waist when no one was looking. But Michael forgot. Or maybe he assumed those things weren't necessary anymore. He thought love was about the big stuff, staying faithful, showing up, paying the bills. But Laura needed something more personal. She needed to be seen, not as a cohabitant, not as a caretaker, but as a woman who still longed to be cherished. One evening, when the space between them felt wider than the couch they shared, Michael finally asked her, "Do you not want to touch me anymore?" She didn't sigh or roll her eyes. She looked at him, eyes tired but sincere, and said, "It's not that I don't want to. It's that I don't feel touched." He was stunned. She wasn't talking about physical touch. She meant the emotional kind, the way a glance, a pause, a shared laugh used to make her feel like the center of his world. She meant the kind of touch that doesn't require hands. Laura remembered everything. Women do. The first time he brushed hair from her face, the time he wrote her a birthday card that made her cry, the night he held her when she said goodbye to her father. Those memories were soft pillows she had once rested her heart on. But lately, it felt like those pillows were gone and she was lying on stone. There was another evening, a song played from an old playlist, their wedding song, "Can't Help Fallin' in Love." She paused, listened. Her eyes welled with tears. Michael was 10 feet away, reading the news. He heard the song, saw the stillness in her, but said nothing, did nothing. She wiped her tears alone. That song, once their melody, now echoed like a reminder of how far apart they drifted.
When Michael used to hear that song, he would smile and reach for her hand. Now he barely looked up. And that's the danger. When life becomes routine, when love becomes assumed, gestures begin to disappear. Not out of malice, but out of habit. But habits can hollow out even the strongest of connections. Michael didn't realize he had stopped showing her she mattered. He thought he was doing enough by staying, by providing, by being there. But being there isn't the same as showing up emotionally. Presence without attention is absence in disguise. Laura remembered a time when Michael used to write her notes, just little scraps, thinking of you. Can't wait to see you tonight. You look beautiful this morning. She kept those notes in a box. She never threw them away because they weren't just paper. They were proof. Proof that she was seen, loved, remembered. Now, the only notes were to-do lists and appointment reminders stuck to the fridge. She felt like she had become invisible. Not out of neglect, but out of slow erosion. And erosion is powerful. It turns mountains into sand. Men like Michael think, I haven't changed. I still love her. But love isn't something you just feel. It's something you show. Every day, in small ways. Because those small ways add up. A woman doesn't need luxury. She needs presence. Not perfection, but effort. Not promises, but moments. Michael had stopped creating moments, and Laura, quietly, started building walls. That's why she pulled away, not because she didn't love him, but because she felt unloved. And when a woman feels unloved long enough, her heart becomes a locked room. But here's the key. It can still be opened. It doesn't take a miracle. It takes a return to softness, to attention, to the man you once were, the man who danced in the kitchen, the man who held her hand in church, the man who whispered thank you when she stayed up late just to wait for him. He's still there. And if you're wondering if it's too late, it's not, because Laura hadn't left. Not yet. And many women won't, even after they've emotionally checked out. They wait, hoping he'll see, that he'll return to her heart before she walks away for good. So don't ask, why is she so distant? Ask, when did I stop reaching for her? Don't say, she changed. Ask, have I? And don't assume she's lost to you. Not when you still have a voice. Not when you still have today. In part 3, I'll show you exactly what Michael did to reconnect with Laura. No grand gestures, no expensive surprises, just 3 small, powerful acts of love that reminded her she still mattered, she was still beautiful, she was still his. If your heart is stirring now, don't ignore it, because that stirring, that's love, asking for a second chance.
That evening, Michael and Laura sat on the couch, side by side, yet separated by an emotional canyon neither had dared cross in years. The television flickered with an old black-and-white movie they barely noticed, while the low hum of the fan filled the room. Outside, the night passed like any other, but inside, something quietly shifted. Because, for no grand reason and without a word, Michael reached out and placed his hand over Laura's. She flinched slightly, her body bracing as if unsure what this meant, but this time she didn't pull away. His touch wasn't heavy. It didn't ask anything of her. It wasn't about claiming. It was about remembering. It was about saying, through silence, I see you. And in that moment, he didn't just feel her skin. He felt her pulse. a thread of life that had once bound them tightly, now tentative, now trembling, but still present. No woman leaves all at once. She retreats in increments, a forgotten smile here, an unanswered question there, and in the same way she can return, gently, gradually, if given safety, softness, and space. That night, Michael didn't reach for results. He reached for her heart, and the profound truth dawned on him. Reconnection isn't something you arrive at. It's something you cultivate. It's a seed you water daily with patience and presence. The following morning, he poured her a cup of coffee like he'd done countless times before. But this time, instead of asking whether she wanted cream or sugar, he looked into her eyes and asked, with genuine curiosity, "How does your heart feel today?" She hesitated, unsure if it was a real question or just a passing phrase. She blinked, shrugged halfway, but stopped herself. Something in his stillness gave her permission to speak, and when she finally did, her voice was almost a whisper. Tired. Not physically, just tired of feeling invisible. Michael didn't try to fix it. He didn't offer a suggestion or pivot the topic. He didn't pull out a solution or say, "You shouldn't feel that way." He simply nodded and stayed beside her. And Laura, in response, began to cry, not out of weakness, but relief, because she had finally been heard. And when a woman feels heard, a door begins to open that has long been locked. Later that day, she sat on the sofa, curled up with an old book she hadn't touched in years. Michael walked in. He didn't ask what she was reading. He didn't attempt a conversation. Instead, he quietly sat beside her and placed his hand on her shoulder. It wasn't urgent. It didn't pull or press. It just rested there, warm and sincere. She looked up, startled for a moment, and then she saw something different in his face. Not urgency, not guilt, but presence. Her lips curled into a soft smile, the kind you give when you recognize an old friend who has returned after a long journey. Because that touch didn't ask for her body, it asked for her heart. And in that gentle contact, she felt more loved than she had in years. Women know the difference. They know when a man touches them out of routine or obligation or desire. And they know when a man touches them because he simply wants her to feel loved. That single moment undid years of distance. Not all of it, but enough to make room for more. Then came the day they cleaned out the garage. Dust swirled around cardboard boxes and rusted holiday lights. Michael opened a small, time-worn box expecting old tools or receipts, but instead, he found letters. Dozens of them, folded carefully, still smelling faintly of ink and memory. On top was one addressed to Lulu. His breath caught. "Lulu," he whispered, barely loud enough for her to hear. "You kept these?" Laura turned from across the room, and when she saw what he held, something flickered in her expression. Not just surprise, but a deep, aching recognition. That for the first time in years, he remembered. Not just the letters, but her, the woman who once wore that nickname like a crown. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The tears said it all. Because sometimes the way back to a woman's heart is not through new words, but old ones. The ones you wrote when your love was raw and real. The ones she kept because they reminded her of who you used to be. And suddenly Michael saw clearly. The smallest gestures, when done with full presence, carry the heaviest weight. Not the flowers or dinners or expensive gifts, but the nicknames, the gentle questions, the memories that say, "I've always seen you, even when I forgot how." That night, Laura rested her head on his shoulder for the first time in years. Not because he asked, not because the movie was romantic, but because, at last, she felt safe. Safe to lean, safe to soften, safe to believe that maybe the man she married still lived inside the one she saw before her. And that right there was the magic. So I ask you now,
What are you waiting for? You don't need the perfect words. You don't need a plan. You just need a moment, a small act of courage to turn toward her. Not to demand anything, not to apologize for everything, but to say, simply with your eyes, your hand, your voice, I'm still here, and I want to try again. Because love, real love, doesn't vanish. It waits. And when a man chooses to love again, truly love again, he'll always find his way back to the woman who once waited at the door. Leave a comment if this spoke to you. Tell me the one thing you'll do for her tonight, because the men who remember how to love, they always find one more chance.